Okay, so the next stitch we're going to focus on is a top stitch, and some of you might have this. If you have little dotted lines like this that are not in a V shape and they're not larger than this, that's probably a top stitch, although you should check your instructions. If you have letters that you need to attach or an emblem that you need to attach, like for example the football, you will need to do a top stitch. We've already got our knot. All we're going to do is start from the bottom and pull up. And then we're just going to make little small stitches, just like as if the machine were to do that. So always coming up from the back. And if you have the printed lines, you can use those as a guide as to where to come up and go down. So just real tiny. On this turtle, for example, the only point of why they're having you do this is so that way you can see the sectioned parts of the shell. But this would be a good one to do if you're doing letters for a football or a basketball, for example. You would have to attach them this way. And I'll let you have a close-up of this here in just a second of what this looks like, but basically it looks just like as if the sewing machine were to do it. So kind of hard to see. And so this is what you would do for letters. And to end it, again, the same thing just like always is you want to always make sure you have enough to end it. So doing the L with your fingers to see that you have enough to end. When you're ready to end, or when you get to the end of something, like maybe that you're done with the letter A, how you end it is you want to come up, but do not come up all the way. You're just going to come up enough to turn it around. So we're not going to pull all our slack up this time. Instead, we're going to leave all of our slack here on the back, just like this. Typically when you do this, it's going to look a lot smaller. It's going to look something more like this, is what your loop will probably look like. And you're going to go through that multiple times. Again, remember 3 is the minimum. 4 or 5 will make an even bigger knot. Remember to pull slowly so it goes down to the bottom. If it's not going down to the bottom, you can always kind of pull it up like that. And you should get your nice knot down there. Okay? Remember that you can clip that down close to the edge. I'm not going to go ahead and clip it because I'm going to show you another stitch called a base stitch. A base stitch is very similar to this. The only difference is that it is going to be done to mark something. Typically basting is done to hold 2 pieces together temporarily. In this case, on these projects, it's going to be done as a marking effect since this is furry and we can't mark it with a pen. So we always want to choose a color that actually does not match our project. If you do not have a color that does not match your fur, then you can choose to use your thread from your other projects, or you can borrow from somebody a small piece of thread. So we're going to pretend that we have large dotted lines, or your instructions say based. So I'm going to pretend that over here, and all I'm going to do is again start from the back with your knot. And I'm just going to do some makeup ones here because this one doesn't require basting. And the only difference here is that you're making larger stitches. And so these can be about, I'd say, 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch long. As you can see here. And the whole point of this is to mark stuff. You'll see this on, like, for example, the buffalo to mark his horns. You'll see this on I'm trying to think, the whale to mark where his little circles go. So quite a few of the projects have a marking spot. The guitar has spots where you mark the strings, where those will be placed. So it's mostly just a placement line so you know where something goes later. There's no need to actually tie a knot on this to end it. However, I would suggest you leave a long tail like this. And that's all you need to do because eventually you're going to tear this out or replace it with something else.